I find it kind of odd that I have to continue explaining what the 2024 recruiting class really represents. But I'm not going to worry so much about the negativity. What I am going to do is show you one more time. We're going to go into a full defensive dive on what this class looks like on the defense. Our last video we showed um, mostly what we were talking about was the defensive line there, which is definitely the anchor of this entire recruiting class. But make no mistake about it. When Brent Venables says this is his best recruiting class, particularly at Oklahoma, it may not have the same amount of 5 stars overall as what you saw a year ago, but depth-wise, he's not wrong. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss a moment of Hall of Fame College Football. Look, guys, this is going to be a quick video. We talked a lot about the defensive line and what you really saw the other day. It's weird that you've seen a little bit, in fact, quite a bit of negativity just based on the overall number 8 ranking and not a top 5 ranking for this class. Now, there's a lot of reasons why you could call it whatever it is, and you can judge it based on purely on the numbers that you're seeing coming out of the 247 on 3 rivals or ESPN. In the composite, they're the number 8 team. Okay. Now you can judge that, and there's a lot of reasons I could sit here and tell you and give you reasons all day long of why this number matters versus this one doesn't. I'm not going to do all that. What I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make it very simple. Very, very simple. Oklahoma has never had this deep of a defensive class, particularly in the defensive line. Starts off obviously with David Stone, one of the top 10 overall players in the country. He is out of Del City, Oklahoma, by way of IMG Academy. Yeah, they train football players there. 6'4", 280 pounds. Then you've got his teammate there, Jaden Jackson, who is a 4-star, not ranked as highly, and he's at 6'1.5", but he's over 300 pounds. You also have Nigel Smith, another guy that doesn't do a lot of camps, 6'4", 264, out of Melissa, Texas. He's a 92.8. He's basically the same size. And I'll tell you to look at his film. Nigel Smith is my favorite recruit in this class, period. My favorite recruit. Jaden Jackson's kind of right up there too. And there's some guys that are underrated in my opinion. Okay. Danny Okoye, speaking of underrated, unbelievable. Dominated at the Alabama camp. Nick Saban fell in love with him. He's still coming to Oklahoma. This is a guy we saw at the U.S. Army All-Star game, the All-American game a week ago, blow up. In fact, a certain number 1 ranked quarterback in the country going to Alabama, Julian Sayin, got planted, strip sacked, and our guy, Danny Okoye, scores a touchdown on it. This dude is the real deal. Let's not forget, you add this class, which also includes guys like James Nesta and Wyatt Gilmore. You add that class to last year's class when you had a 5-star PJ Adebawore, defensive end, edge rush guy, one of the top 5 players in the entire country. You also had Peyton Bowen, another 5-star, top 25, or in fact, he was a top 15 overall selection in the country. There was one safety ranked above him. Caleb Downs at Alabama. But as we saw this year, and which was just amazing. You saw this year, Peyton made good on it. This year, they add his brother, who played with him at Denton Guyer, a cornerback. They're actually adding to this secondary as well. Jeremiah Newcomb, son of Bobby Newcomb, who was, if you remember, you folks that remember some of the really, really good rivalry games between Nebraska and Oklahoma, you know who Bobby Newcomb is. This is his son, 4-star out of Castile in Queen Creek, Arizona, which is outside of Phoenix. Really, really good player. Really good player. He's going to be one of those guys that just look at his body and look, guys, before you go getting, if you're going to be that guy, like the dude that was in the comments after our live stream last night, commenting on my video from the other day, where I said that they're killing it in recruiting, because they are. This is 3 straight top 10 overall classes for Brent Venables. He's been a head coach. This is going into his 3rd year. This guy knows, they know what they're doing. Todd Bates knows what he's doing. It took them, I want to say 7 years to get to 4 5-star recruits whenever they were at Clemson. He's had 4 in the last 2 years. And if you got to remember something too. The difference in year 1 and year 2 was big. Oklahoma led the country in interceptions, takeaways. That's what they did. They had a few off games on defense, and they had some injuries at times it made it not look as good at times. Their total defense wasn't great. Their scoring defense was pretty good. Okay? They did have a couple of hiccup games. But the big difference from year 1 to year 2 at Clemson was huge. Year 2 to year 3 was even bigger. Okay? When you figure that you add in one of the best defensive line prospects in a long time in David Stone, Nigel Smith, who is comparable with him as well, guaranteed he is. And so is Jaden Jackson. Ask David Stone what he thinks about Jaden Jackson, because they've been playing next to each other for 2 years. This is a different football team. And let's not forget that Lincoln Riley they didn't play offense. They didn't play anything but offense while he was at Oklahoma. Look, he made excuses about why he needed to leave OU, go to USC. But the truth of it was, he's not recruiting there either. They're losing guys in the portal big time. They're getting some guys on defense now that they've changed out, got rid of Alex Grinch. But the truth is, he had more runway with which to work with it in Norman. But by the time he left after 5 seasons, they had completely softened what was a tough program defensively. They hadn't played great defense, though, even since before Bob Stoops left. It just wasn't the same thing. This is probably, I've heard some of the older guys that are in this audience talk about this, and I believe it. Look, you had guys like Tommy Harris. There's been some amazing defenders since Bob Stoops became head coach in 1999. They've had some amazing defensive players. A lot of them, as a matter of fact. I'm not even going to go through an entire list, but guys when you start talking about the best of the best, Gerald McCoy and Tommy Harris fit that mold. Superman Roy Williams fit that mold. Teddy Lehman, to me, is still one of the best of all time. Okay? But it wasn't that you didn't have guys like that. It's that you didn't have a large amount of them. There was never a class that was this saturated with defensive line talent. Stone, you've got Nigel Smith, and Nigel can play the outside or the inside. Then you've got Jaden Jackson, as I told you. You're also going to have James Nesta, who plays baseball, throws at 90 miles an hour. He's going to play a little bit of edge rusher, possibly cheetah. Let's not forget that that's going to add to, as I said, PJ Adebawore, who was a top 5 overall prospect from a year ago. He's looked better and better week to week. We just heard Ethan Downs say this past week that PJ's going to eat this year. We've been hearing it a lot. So then you got guys like Wyatt Gilmore, another really good edge rusher. Go in and look at these guys. I'm going to tell you, if I have the different, and this is the same thing I told the guy in the comment section. Look, I trust Brent Venables and Todd Bates and the guys that were in that Clemson system and their evaluation of players a lot more than I trust the guys at On 3 or 247 or any of them. And I'm not saying those guys aren't good at what they do, but just bottom line is the recruiting is a business. Recruiting is a business, and they have combines that cost money. They have camps that cost money. And some of these kids are not able to get to all these camps and get evaluated over and over and over and over by a bunch of different people. For Nigel Smith, I don't think it was necessarily a money thing. I think he was just a worker, and he was good with working right where he was. He didn't go to a ton of camps, but he didn't need to. He was dominant at Melissa, Texas. Go watch him play basketball. Explosive, big, nasty streak in him. When you look at Jaden Jackson, 6'1", he's over 300 pounds already, coming in as a freshman. These are guys, along with David Stone and Danny Okoye, that have an opportunity to make an impact as freshmen. They're that good. The reason Danny Okoye is not a 5-star, he ended up having to play on one of the homeschool teams because the high school that he was at wasn't fielding the team anymore. Was that his fault? No. But these little things, I mean, you can look at the guy, he's 6'4", 260 something pounds, 240, I'm sorry. Lightning fast, big, long arm, got great wingspan. And he's got a nasty streak in him too. And wanted to be a Sooner. Nick Saban wanted him to be a member of the Tide. He's not there. Sometimes you can judge by how many other offers did they have and to where. Nigel Smith could have went anywhere he wanted to, just like Danny Okoye could. Ohio State really wanted him. Texas A&M was trying to drop one of their legendary bags on him. Penn State and James Franklin all over him. His first offer was from Notre Dame. He said that's when he knew that he had something. His dad was a professional basketball player. We're going to talk more about it. We actually have the offensive preview coming up right after this as well. You got to look at who these kids are. I'm going to say this. If for you folks that are out there that are saying things like the guy that was in the comment section overnight, that was, talking about that this wasn't a great class is only in the top 5. That's not true. The numbers only mean so much, folks. They only mean so much. This is a real football team. Some of the other big gets that not a lot of people were talking about on the defensive side of the ball, and they got them at every level, folks. You got Jaden Hardy out of Lewisville, Texas. This guy is a big-time safety, 6'1", 170 is what it's showing here. Go look at his tape. There's a reason why he's a 4-star player. This is a high 4-star from Texas. Then you've got, as well, again, Jaden Jackson, unbelievable. Do yourself a treat and take a look at this guy. Jeremiah Newcomb, the son of Bobby Newcomb, former Nebraska Cornhusker, great. He is built it's like he was chiseled out of a rock. Unbelievable. Nesta, Wyatt Gilmore, Boganowski, Devin Jordan, another homegrown kid from Tulsa Union, that these guys are just putting out players year after year after year. He's got, that knack to him, hard hitter. All these guys are nasty hitters too, guys. Eli Bowen, as I said, the brother of Peyton Bowen. And this is why I said that it was so important, that this class was so important. And it's not just because of the defensive line, but you're stacking this talent on top of each other. This is 3 straight cycles that you've seen Brent Venables put a class together that ranked in the top 10. This football team is going to be the real deal. Stop just looking at the numbers. If that's all that mattered, Texas A&M would not have been what it was the last couple of years that got Jimbo fired. It's not an exact science. And this time around, they got it wrong. Some of these kids are way better than what they're rated, and there's circumstances behind it. If you're not a camp guy and you don't pay to go to these combines and get evaluated week after week all the time as you're going through, you can fall through the cracks with them. A lot of these kids climbed to very big heights. Jaden Jackson was a 3-star. He's up way up into the force. He's not a camp guy. He did go to IMG. Ask David Stone what he thinks about him. He took up a lot of blocks. That kid is probably going to make a big jump. I want to ask you, tell me who you think out of all the freshman defensive players, who has the best opportunity to be a starter or to get the most playing time in year one at Oklahoma this season. Let me know what you think. Tell us what you think of it. But hey, guys, I'm going to tell you now, if you're going to come in criticizing this recruiting class because of the numbers, you better come with more than what you just saw. You better tell me what you're seeing on video that makes you think they're not very good. Because if all you're going to tell me is what the recruiting services are telling you, I'm going to clown you. That's just how it's going to be. Be better than that. Don't be so negative, and understand that this team is getting better. They went from 6 wins to 10 wins between year one and year two. They're going into a tougher league. There's no doubt about it, but they're getting tougher by the minute. Check out our offensive breakdown for recruiting. It's really good too. It'll be coming your way here in just a bit. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say. But like I said, come with something real. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one.